He never tasted death. He was taken by God. And before he vanished, he saw heaven itself. Thunder rolls, lightning flashes through swirling clouds, stars shimmer like living eyes, choirs rise in unearthly harmony. Wheels within wheels turn across the void, ancient, alive, divine. And then a scroll bursts into flame, sealing itself shut. The words upon it read, "The Book of Enoch." This isn't just another forgotten text. It's the diary of a man who walked with God, a man who didn't die, who crossed the veil between heaven and earth, and returned to tell us what he saw. But here's the question. Why did early Christians once read this book in awe and then hide it away? Why did the church whisper about its power but fear its light? What secrets of heaven were too divine, too dangerous to remain in plain sight? Because Enoch didn't just dream of angels. He spoke with them. He didn't just see heaven, he mapped it. He didn't just witness judgment, he watched it unfold before his eyes. In the age before Moses, before the flood, before the prophets, there was Enoch, the man who saw the machinery of heaven itself. For centuries, his writings lay buried, banished, forgotten, preserved only in the deserts of Ethiopia. Yet the echoes of his visions linger in our scriptures, in Jude, in Revelation, in the stories of creation and fall. It's as if his words were too holy for time itself to destroy. So tonight, we open those gates again. We will step where Enoch stepped, see what he saw, and ask the question that terrified the ancients. What if heaven is not what we think it is? This is the Book of Enoch, and these are the secrets they tried to hide. The Bible introduces Enoch with one of the most hauntingly beautiful lines ever written. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Genesis 5:24. Just 10 words. 10 words that describe one of the most mysterious disappearances in all of Scripture. While every other patriarch in Genesis is listed with the same solemn rhythm, born, lived, and died, Enoch breaks the pattern. There is no mention of his death, no tomb, no final breath. Only this: he walked with God. And one day, he was not. That simple phrase cracks open a mystery that has puzzled theologians for millennia. What does it mean to walk so closely with God that you simply cease to be on earth? Did he vanish in light? Was he transformed into spirit? Or did he, as ancient texts suggest, enter heaven alive, body and soul, into the very presence of the Almighty? The man who never died. Only one other figure in the Old Testament shares this fate, the prophet Elijah. He, too, was taken up, not in death but in fire. A chariot of flame descended from the heavens, sweeping him away in a whirlwind as Elisha watched in awe. 2 men, 2 ascensions, both vanished without dying, both remembered as prophets of pure righteousness. But where Elijah's story is filled with thunder and spectacle, Enoch's is cloaked in silence, an enigma whispered through generations. The rabbis said Enoch was a scribe of heaven, a man whose righteousness outshone his time. Early Christians believed he was a prophet before prophets, a man who glimpsed Christ before Christ walked the earth, and the book that bears his name, the Book of Enoch, claims to record exactly what he saw when he crossed into the divine realm. The Lost Book of Enoch. For centuries, the Book of Enoch was a legend, a rumor from forgotten ages. Early church fathers like Tertullian and Clement of Alexandria spoke of it with reverence, quoting its words as scripture. Even the New Testament echoes it. The Epistle of Jude, verses 14 to 15, directly cites Enoch's prophecy. Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all. That line doesn't appear anywhere in the Old Testament. It's taken straight from the Book of Enoch, which means that by the time Jude wrote his letter, Enoch's writings were well known and respected among early believers. But then, the book vanished. For nearly 2,000 years, it was gone, lost to the Western world. Until one extraordinary discovery in the 18th century changed everything. In the highlands of Ethiopia, explorers and missionaries uncovered an ancient manuscript written in Ge'ez, the sacred language of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. It was the Book of Enoch, preserved in full. While Europe had forgotten it, the Ethiopian Church had safeguarded it, reading it alongside their scriptures for centuries. When scholars began to translate it, they were stunned. It wasn't a simple moral tale or myth. It was a revelation, a vision of heaven's inner workings, its angels, its laws, its judgment, written by a man who claimed to have been there. The Book of Enoch reads like a divine travel journal. It tells how Enoch was taken up by the Watchers, towering angels of flame and light, into the many layers of heaven. He saw rivers of fire, crystal palaces, stars that sang, and thrones that blazed with eternal glory. He spoke with archangels who revealed to him secrets of creation, time, and divine justice. And he was given a mission: to record everything he saw and deliver warnings to a corrupted world before the coming flood. Imagine hearing that in the ancient world, a man who mapped heaven itself, who stood before the throne of glory and lived to tell the tale. No wonder early believers revered it. It painted a picture of heaven not as clouds and harps, but as a vast, living system, a kingdom of power, order, and fire. But it also did something else, something the religious leaders found deeply unsettling. It spoke of angels who rebelled, of divine councils that debated, of cosmic laws that governed creation itself. It gave structure and detail to mysteries the Bible only hinted at, and that was dangerous. In the centuries following Christ's resurrection, Christianity spread rapidly, and with it came an urgent need for unity. The early church fathers had to decide which writings were truly divine and which were not. They sought simplicity, clarity, and doctrinal consistency. And the Book of Enoch was none of those things. It was too divine, too complex, too revealing. It described layers of heaven, hierarchies of angels, and secrets of creation that were almost too vivid. Some feared it could lead believers astray, or reveal truths too great for mortal minds. Others saw it as a relic of an older mystical faith, a bridge between heaven and earth that the new church wanted closed. So Enoch's writings were set aside, not condemned outright, but quietly buried beneath the sands of time. By the 5th century, they were all but forgotten in the West. Only in Ethiopia did the light still burn, but even in absence, Enoch's influence lingered. The language of revelation, the stars falling, the angels sounding trumpets, the judgment throne, echoes his words. The idea of guardian angels, the fallen watchers, and even the name Son of Man as a divine title all appear first in Enoch's pages. Without Enoch, much of our heavenly imagery might never have existed. It's as if the foundations of Christian cosmology were built on stones the builders later rejected. So who was Enoch, really? Ancient Jewish tradition paints him as a humble man, born into a world spiraling into corruption, yet devoted to righteousness. He was a father, a husband, a man of quiet faith. And yet, he saw beyond the veil. Some traditions even say God transformed him into the angel Metatron, the scribe of heaven, the voice that records every human deed before the throne of God. Whether symbolic or literal, the message is clear. Enoch represents the ultimate union between man and God, humanity's potential to walk in divine harmony. He's the embodiment of what happens when mortal flesh aligns completely with eternal will. In him, we see not just a prophet, but a prototype, a glimpse of humanity's future destiny, a being of both earth and heaven. Today, Enoch's story challenges us to ask a question that cuts deep. What does it mean to walk with God? For Enoch, it meant intimacy beyond religion. He didn't just believe in God, he knew him. He lived each day so attuned to divine presence that heaven simply claimed him. Maybe that's why his writings feel so otherworldly, because they were born from direct experience, not distant theology. Enoch wasn't trying to define God, he was describing what it felt like to stand in his light. And maybe that's what made his book both beloved and banned. It didn't just talk about God, it spoke from God's realm. This isn't a fairy tale. It's the ancient record of a man who entered heaven alive, a man who saw the unseeable, wrote the unwritable, and vanished without a trace. And now, 2,000 years later, we're about to walk that same path, to follow Enoch step by step through the corridors of heaven, to meet the angels he met, and to uncover the secrets that made his words both sacred and forbidden. Because before the flood, before the law, before the prophets, there was Enoch, the man who walked with God. And heaven has never been the same since. It begins not with thunder, but with silence. A silence so complete that the world itself seems to hold its breath. And then, the earth trembles. Enoch looks up. The sky splits like a curtain torn in two. A blinding light floods the mountains, brighter than 1,000 suns. And within that radiance, they appear, the Watchers. Towering beings robed in light, faces hidden behind fire, voices that sound like waterfalls and wind. They call his name, not with sound, but with thought. Enoch, son of Jared, come. And in that instant, the ground disappears beneath his feet. He is lifted, not falling, not flying, but drawn upward, as if gravity itself has reversed. Below him, the earth fades, the forests, the valleys, the shadow of humanity's corruption. Above him, a storm of living light. He writes later. He feels his mortal body dissolve into something new, weightless, luminous, alive. And the Watchers guide him through a chasm between worlds, a threshold where the physical and the divine collide. The air hums. Stars streak past like rivers of molten glass. He hears voices, millions, singing a single, endless note. Not chaotic, not random, but harmonized. Perfectly. It's the sound of creation itself. The light steadies, and Enoch finds himself standing, if standing can describe being suspended in eternal brilliance, before what he calls the houses of heaven. He tries to describe it, but human words shatter under the weight of what he sees. Their walls were of crystal, their floors of fire, their ceilings of lightning. Flames surrounded them, and voices like thunder filled their courts. Each house glows with its own radiance, white, gold, sapphire blue, and violet flame. The walls are alive, pulsating like the heartbeat of creation. Angels move within them, countless, tireless, radiant, serving, singing, recording, rejoicing. Rivers of fire flow between these palaces, glowing like liquid sunlight. They don't burn, they purify. Every spark that leaps from them feels intelligent, aware, worshiping. He sees thrones suspended in the air, surrounded by concentric rings of flame. Wheels within wheels, eyes upon every surface, spinning in endless motion. Each wheel reflects another, creating infinite symmetry, the architecture of eternity. And suddenly, Enoch understands. This isn't chaos. This is order. Every beam of light, every sound, every flame has a purpose. Heaven is not a dream. It is structure, mathematical, musical, alive. As he gazes deeper, Enoch realizes he's still only in the outer courts of heaven. The Watchers tell him, still they allow him to glimpse its reflection. He sees lightning flowing like rivers, storms of color cascading like oceans in motion. And somewhere beyond, a light so brilliant it cannot be seen, only felt. It pierces everything, even thought. The angels bow toward it in perfect rhythm, their wings like curtains of light rippling through eternity. They are not worshiping out of command. They are responding to truth itself. It is as if heaven breathes and all creation inhales in awe. The meaning behind the vision. Every detail Enoch records burns with symbolism. The crystal foundations, purity. The rivers of fire, judgment and cleansing. The thunderous halls, divine majesty. The symmetry, perfection of divine order. Heaven is built not of stone and gold, but of principles, truth, righteousness, justice, love. It's the universe as God intended it, balanced, beautiful, alive with purpose. What Enoch sees is the cosmic order behind the visible world. He's witnessing what every prophet would later describe in fragments. Isaiah's fiery seraphim, Ezekiel's wheels of light, John's New Jerusalem descending from heaven. It all began here. Was Enoch the first to see it? He doesn't claim divinity. He claims witness, a mortal given divine sight, shown what no human eyes had ever seen. Centuries later, the Apostle John would describe his own vision on the island of Patmos, a city of light, a throne surrounded by glassy seas, creatures full of eyes, singing, "Holy, holy, holy." Sound familiar? Enoch's vision predates Revelation by millennia, and yet the imagery is nearly identical. It's as though John walked the same celestial halls Enoch did, perhaps guided by the same voices, perhaps standing in the same blinding presence. Could it be that the New Jerusalem of Revelation is the same city Enoch saw in his ascent? The eternal template of heaven? If so, then Enoch wasn't just seeing heaven's geography. He was seeing prophecy itself, the future kingdom of God before it was revealed to man. Enoch struggles to contain the magnitude of what he's witnessed. He describes walls that pulse with fire. Heaven is not inert. Every part of it is aware of God's glory. I saw lightning that had eyes and flames that spoke without sound, Enoch writes, and I understood that even the light has life in heaven. Heaven is not a place we go to. It is a living being we awaken into. It breathes, it sings, it moves in harmony with the Creator. He describes walls of crystal fire and lightning like living eyes. He walks not as a tourist, but as a witness, and as he gazes into that endless brilliance, Enoch realizes something profound. The watchers bow beside him, yet completely loved. Because beyond these shining halls lies something greater. Next, Enoch approaches the throne of glory, and what he sees there will change everything. When Enoch looked into heaven, he did not see chaos. He saw structure, order, a kingdom ruled not by chance, but by purpose. He saw the machinery of heaven itself, the watchers, heaven's eyes on earth. The first beings Enoch encounters are called the Watchers. They stand as luminous sentinels, vast, radiant, and incomprehensibly powerful. Their very name means those who watch, and their role is divine observation. They are the ones who record the deeds of humanity, who stand between heaven and earth, who ensure that divine justice does not sleep. But not all remained faithful. Some of the watchers, those spoken of in Genesis 6 and in the Book of Enoch itself, descended upon Mount Hermon, took human wives and taught forbidden knowledge, metallurgy, enchantments, cosmetics, even astrology. It was these fallen watchers who fathered the Nephilim, the giants who corrupted the earth before the flood. Yet the ones Enoch sees in heaven are not the fallen, but the loyal ones. Their garments blaze like the sun. Their faces, Enoch says, are brighter than snow. They do not merely see, they record. They are heaven's witnesses, heaven's eyes, heaven's order. And I saw the watchers, who never sleep, and who guard the glory of the Most High. 1 Enoch 20. The 7 archangels, commanders of heaven. Next, Enoch is introduced to the mightiest of the watchers, the 7 archangels, each a pillar of the celestial throne. He names them Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Raguel, Sariel, and Remiel. Each is not merely an angel, but a divine office. Each carries out a specific function in the maintenance of creation itself. Michael, the defender. The warrior who stands over Israel, protector of God's people, the sword of righteousness. Gabriel, the messenger. He carries the word that sets destinies in motion, from Daniel's visions to Mary's womb. Raphael, the healer. In the Book of Tobit, he heals blindness and binds demons. In Enoch's account, he tends to the wounds of creation itself. Uriel, the flame of God. The revealer of secrets, the one who shows Enoch the movements of the stars, the calendars of heaven, and the gates of light. Raguel, the arbiter. He restores balance, ensuring that no angelic power oversteps its bounds. Sariel, the guide of spirits. He governs the spirits of the dead, ensuring order in the unseen realms. Remiel, the awakener. He is linked to resurrection, to the moment when the righteous rise once more. Together, these seven form a council, echoed later in the Book of Revelation as the seven spirits who stand before the throne of God. This was not the imagery of primitive superstition. It was the language of divine administration. Heaven, Enoch realized, was a kingdom. Every being had rank, duty, and sacred function, like gears within a perfect celestial clock. The ranks beyond, seraphim, cherubim, and ophanim. As Enoch is led deeper into the heavens, he witnesses other orders, so radiant they defy description. The seraphim, the burning ones. These are the flames of divine love, beings who exist in perpetual worship. Isaiah saw them too, each with 6 wings crying, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts." Their fire is not destruction, it is purification. They burn away impurity, igniting creation with holiness itself. The cherubim, the guardians of divine knowledge. They stand before the throne, and one guards the way back to Eden with a flaming sword. Enoch describes them as beings of lightning and thunder, symbolizing wisdom and the raw power of revelation. They are not cute baby angels, they are storm and intellect made manifest. The ophanim, the wheels within wheels, the living mechanisms of heaven described also by Ezekiel. Covered in countless eyes, they rotate in infinite harmony, representing God's omniscience and the perpetual motion of his will. They are not metal, but light, living geometry, divine motion. When they move, Enoch says, the sound is like 1,000 thunders. And Enoch, this mortal man, stood among them. And the great glory sat upon the throne, and his raiment shone brighter than the sun, and all the hosts of heaven stood before him, trembling. 1 Enoch 14 Divine Order. The architecture of eternity. Heaven, in Enoch's vision, is not chaos or random light, it's structured glory. Every being, from the highest seraph to the humblest messenger, moves according to divine law. It is the machinery of eternity, a hierarchy not built on pride, but on perfect obedience. Each angel reflects one attribute of God: justice, mercy, truth, healing, light, like prisms reflecting the same source. And through this structure, creation itself is sustained. When Enoch witnesses the river of fire that flows from beneath the throne, he understands it is not punishment, it is power, the living energy of God's will, feeding every star, every heartbeat, every atom. In modern language, we might call it cosmic energy or divine frequency. But Enoch didn't need terms like that. He simply called it glory. Was it divine hierarchy or cosmic technology? Now comes the question that fascinates scholars and mystics alike. Was Enoch describing a hierarchy of spirits or something that looked like divine technology? When he speaks of crystal chambers, rivers of fire, and wheels within wheels full of eyes, some modern readers see the language of machinery, of light, of systems beyond human understanding. Perhaps the truth lies between both interpretations. Perhaps what he saw was the spiritual infrastructure that sustains the universe, a realm where what we call technology is indistinguishable from divine function. What Enoch witnessed was not heaven as art, but heaven as operation, not a dreamscape, but a functioning kingdom of light. He saw the invisible governance of creation, and it left him trembling. Enoch saw that heaven was alive. It breathed, it sang, it moved. Every flame, every light, every sound obeyed one rhythm, the will of the Most High. And that, perhaps, is what made the Book of Enoch so dangerous. Because it didn't just describe heaven, it explained how heaven worked. A revelation too divine, too detailed, too overwhelming for the world to handle. There comes a moment in every divine encounter when awe turns to trembling, when beauty becomes unbearable. For Enoch, that moment came when he approached the throne of glory, the very heart of heaven. The ascent to the throne. Enoch's journey did not end with the crystal palaces or the hosts of radiant beings. His guides, the angels who burned like living stars, beckoned him higher still. He describes passing through 7 heavens, each one brighter, purer, and more overwhelming than the last. The air itself shimmered like living light. Songs filled the expanse, harmonies no human ear could contain. As he ascended, the angels grew silent. Their faces changed, no longer blazing with confidence but with reverence and fear. For none, Enoch wrote, dare approach the presence of the Holy One, save by his word and permission. Even the mighty watchers bowed low as the glory of the Most High drew near. And Enoch, a man of dust, felt his very being trembling, not in terror, but in the weight of divine reality. The throne of the Ancient of Days. Then Enoch saw it, the throne of glory, set high upon a foundation of fire and crystal, shining brighter than 1,000 suns. And I saw the great glory sitting upon his throne, and his raiment shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. 1 Enoch 14:20. Around the throne, rivers of living fire flowed like molten gold. Lightning coiled like serpents of light. The air itself thundered with voices crying, "Holy, holy, holy!" Countless fiery beings surrounded the throne, angels, seraphim, cherubim, all moving in perfect rhythm, like a symphony of light. Books were opened, the books of judgment, and in them were written the deeds of men and angels alike. The thunders Enoch heard were not storms. They were the utterances of eternal law. It was the heartbeat of creation itself. The face beyond description. Then Enoch saw him, the Ancient of Days. But how does one describe the indescribable? He wrote, "The great glory sat upon the throne, and his face I could not endure. Light upon light surrounded him, and no flesh could behold him." There was no face as we know it, no form, no outline, only radiance. A living brilliance so intense that even the highest angels veiled their faces. It was not light that revealed, it was light that concealed. The nearer Enoch drew, the less he saw with his eyes, and the more he knew with his spirit. He was no longer looking at God, he was standing within his light. And then came the transformation. And I fell upon my face, and the Lord called me by name, and the Spirit entered into me, and I became as one of them. Enoch's transformation. Becoming light. In that moment, Enoch's mortal limitations dissolved. The man who once walked the earth now stood among immortals. He was not consumed by fire. He became fire. The throne did not destroy him. It recreated him. He was clothed in glory, filled with divine understanding. He no longer saw as man sees, but as the angels see. And this is where Enoch's account diverges from every prophet who came before him. Isaiah saw the throne and cried, "Woe is me, for I am undone." John fell as though dead when he saw the glorified Christ in Revelation. But Enoch was changed. He did not fall away. He was drawn in. He became part of the vision itself, the books of heaven, judgment and mercy. In the light of the throne, Enoch saw the books of heaven opened, vast ledgers of shimmering light, every soul, every angel, every moment, recorded with perfect precision. He watched as the righteous were justified and the wicked condemned, not out of vengeance, but out of divine order. For before the throne, justice and mercy are not opposites, they are one. This was the revelation that terrified the ancient world. God does not simply watch history. He weaves it, judges it, redeems it. Every tear, every injustice, every secret act. Nothing is lost in the river of fire. It all flows back to the throne of glory. The universal pattern of encounter. Enoch's vision became the archetype for all divine encounters that followed. Isaiah saw the seraphim cry, "Holy." Ezekiel saw the wheels of fire. John, exiled on Patmos, saw the throne and the sea of glass. Different eyes, different ages, same glory. Each man, when confronted by the throne, spoke the same words. I am unworthy, and yet each was chosen, to see, to write, to warn. Enoch was the first to cross that threshold while still alive, and the first to return with a message not of death, but of transformation. Heaven saw him, and here lies the true climax. Not that Enoch saw heaven, but that heaven saw him. He walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. When heaven looked upon Enoch, it recognized something familiar, a reflection of its own obedience, purity, and wonder. Heaven did not reject him. Heaven received him. He didn't just witness the divine, he became part of it. He stood where angels tremble. He saw the light that no mortal can see, and he lived to tell its story. He walked into the impossible and lived to write about it. He glimpsed the throne of glory, the living heart of heaven, and came back forever changed. What he saw next was not peace, but judgment. When Enoch looked to the heavens, he did not see chaos. He saw order, design, divine precision. The stars were not scattered randomly across the sky. They were soldiers, marching in formation under the command of the Most High. The cosmic classroom. After standing before the throne, Enoch is not sent away in silence. Instead, one of the archangels steps forward, Uriel, the flame of God. Uriel is no ordinary messenger. He is the keeper of the stars, the interpreter of the heavenly tablets, the guardian of time itself. And it is Uriel who leads Enoch on a journey through the machinery of the cosmos. He takes him beyond the thrones, beyond the fire, to the realm of shining orbs and unseen laws. And the angel Uriel showed me the laws of the luminaries of heaven, their names, their courses, and their dominion over the earth. 1 Enoch 72. For the first time, a mortal is shown not just the beauty of creation, but its blueprint. The path of the sun. Uriel begins with the sun. He shows Enoch how it rises and sets through 6 heavenly gates, marking the seasons of the earth. In summer, the sun takes its northern course, lengthening the days. In winter, it travels south, shortening them. Between these extremes lies balance, the perfect rhythm of divine mathematics. But Enoch sees more than motion. He sees purpose. Each sunrise is not just light, it's law. Each season is not random, it's obedience. The sun, Uriel explains, follows the command written upon the heavenly tablets since the dawn of creation. Even the light obeys. And thus the sun completes its course according to the command of the Lord of Spirits. 1 Enoch 72:37. The moon and the measure of time. Next, Uriel reveals the moon, its waxing and waning, its mysterious connection to the tides and to the calendar of sacred festivals. The ancients had looked up in wonder, but Enoch saw the pattern beneath the glow. The moon's cycles, Uriel said, are not merely for beauty, they are for measurement. Days, months, years all flow from the rhythm of these heavenly lights. The moon is heaven's clock, the sun its calendar. Together, they regulate not only time, but destiny. And the moon brings in all the seasons, each in its appointed time, so that all may know the days and years. In this revelation, Enoch witnesses the unity between creation and Creator. The heavens are not distant, they are obedient instruments of divine will. Every star moves because God has spoken its orbit. Every moment unfolds because heaven has written it. The laws of the luminaries. Uriel then takes Enoch deeper still, to the stars themselves. He shows him constellations of power, the Pleiades, Orion, and the Watchers of the East. Each one, Uriel says, holds authority over a portion of the heavens. They are not gods, but servants of divine geometry. And Enoch learns that these stars are bound by law. They rise in their appointed order. They set in their assigned gates. But when stars rebel, when fallen angels abandon their posts, the cosmos itself trembles. This is why, Uriel warns, some stars burn longer and others vanish suddenly. These are not accidents of space. They are judgments written in light. And I saw stars that transgressed their order and were bound in the abyss until the day of judgment. Enoch 18:14. The stars themselves are witnesses, keepers of heaven's time and testifiers of its justice. The heavenly tablets. Then Enoch is shown something even greater, the heavenly tablets. These are not books of paper and ink, but slabs of living light. On them are inscribed the laws of heaven and earth, the calendars of kings and kingdoms, the births and deaths of nations. They record everything from the movement of galaxies to the fate of every soul. Uriel tells Enoch that these tablets were written before the foundation of the world. They are the script of creation itself, the divine code that governs existence. And it is through these tablets that time, light, and destiny are bound together in one perfect design. And I beheld the heavenly tablets, whereon were written the deeds of men and the courses of the stars. The message is clear. Heaven is not chaos. It is divine mathematics, a perfect equilibrium between mercy and law, between light and order. The angels who measure the heavens, Enoch is also shown the angels of measure, spiritual architects who map the cosmos. They hold rods of light, measuring distances between stars, weighing the scales of creation. Each measure is sacred, precise, and eternal. These beings are heaven's scientists, proof that divine order is not opposed to understanding, but built upon it. To Enoch, their actions looked like worship. Every calculation, every measure, every orbit was praise made visible. He realizes then that heaven's science is its worship. Knowledge itself in heaven glorifies the Creator. Let there be light. The mathematics of God. Uriel's final revelation ties everything together. He tells Enoch, when God said, "Let there be light," he was not merely creating brightness, he was establishing law. Light, Uriel explains, is the language of heaven, the blueprint of matter, energy, and spirit. Everything that exists is written in its code. From the smallest atom to the mightiest star, all obey the same divine principle. Harmony through order. Enoch stands in stunned silence. He realizes that the heavens are not random. They are a living scripture. Every star, a letter. Every constellation, a sentence. Every sunrise, a divine signature. And in that moment, Enoch begins to understand. Heaven is not a place of endless clouds and harps. It is the operating system of creation itself. Enoch wasn't just seeing beauty. He was being shown how the universe runs. He saw that behind every sunrise, every rhythm of time, every heartbeat in the cosmos was the mind of God written in light. Enoch had seen the beauty of heaven, the perfect order of stars, the harmony of angels, the rivers of fire that carried God's will. But now, he was about to see the opposite. What happens when divine beings turn from light to shadow? The story of heaven's great rebellion. The descent of the Watchers. There was once a group of angels known as the Watchers, mighty beings appointed to guide and guard humanity. They stood between heaven and earth, watching over the generations of men. But in time, their gaze shifted from protection to desire. Enoch writes that 200 of these watchers, led by Semjaza, looked upon the daughters of men and found them beautiful. They whispered among themselves, torn between duty and longing, until their leader spoke, "Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men and beget us children." 1 Enoch 6:2. At first, they hesitated. They knew the command of heaven forbade such union, but pride and passion overcame them, and together they swore an oath upon Mount Hermon, binding themselves in rebellion. When they descended, the earth trembled. For the first time since creation, heaven's light touched the soil in disobedience. The forbidden knowledge. The watchers did not only take wives, they shared their secrets. Azazel taught men the art of making weapons, swords, knives, and shields. Semjaza taught enchantments and sorcery. Barachel revealed astrology, Kokabel, the secrets of the stars, and Penemu, the craft of writing. To women, they taught adornment, how to paint the face and enhance beauty, transforming innocence into vanity. Knowledge that was meant for heaven's order was now twisted on earth. The result was chaos. The offspring of these unions were not human, nor angelic. They were the Nephilim, giants of terrifying strength and appetite. They devoured everything, even turning on mankind. And as their violence grew, the earth itself cried out for justice. And the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. 1 Enoch 7:6 Enoch, the intercessor. As corruption spread, the watchers realized their fate. They had defied the command of the Most High, and now the judgment was coming. In desperation, they turned to the only man who had ever stood before God, Enoch. They begged him, "Speak to the Lord for us. Plead for our forgiveness." Imagine the scene, these radiant beings now trembling, their glory dimmed, their eyes filled with tears. Once guardians of men, now petitioners before one. Enoch, moved with compassion, agreed. He ascended once more into heaven, bearing their plea. And in that sacred court before the throne of glory, he laid their request at the feet of the Almighty. I wrote their petition, and the vision appeared to me thus, that their prayer would not be granted unto them. 1 Enoch 13:1. Then came the divine reply, simple, piercing, and final. You should have interceded for man, not man for you. The judgment. The verdict was swift and eternal. God commanded the archangels to act. Michael was to bind the rebellious spirits. Gabriel was to destroy their offspring, the Nephilim. Raphael was to cast Azazel into the wilderness, covering him with jagged stones. Uriel was to open the abyss beneath the mountains of the earth. And there, the watchers were chained in darkness until the day of judgment. Bind them fast under the hills of the earth for 70 generations, until the day of their judgment and of their consummation. Enoch 10:12. Lightning flashed across the heavens as the chains were sealed. The same angels who once sang beside them now wept. Heaven had lost some of its own. Heaven's tears. Enoch writes that the heavens themselves mourned, the stars dimmed, the winds groaned, and the fountains of the deep shuddered. For even in judgment, there was grief. These were not demons from the beginning. They were angels, made for glory, who chose shadow. Their fall was a wound in the fabric of creation, a scar that even the flood would not fully erase. And the Lord of spirits wept, for they had defiled the earth with their deeds. This is one of the most haunting truths of Enoch's vision, that even heaven can mourn, that justice, though perfect, carries sorrow. Because divine order is not cold law, it is love wounded by betrayal. The abyss and the echo of rebellion. Beneath the mountains, the fallen watchers remain bound in eternal twilight, the abyss, the prison of angels. Here they wait, conscious, remembering the light they once knew. Some traditions say their cries echo through the deep like storms. Others claim their spirits wander, sowing temptation among mankind. But Enoch was shown that their rebellion, though tragic, served a purpose: to reveal the sanctity of obedience, to remind creation that even angels are accountable, because in heaven's order, power without submission becomes destruction. The sanctity of creation. The fall of the Watchers is not merely a tale of punishment, it is a revelation of divine justice. It shows that God's laws are not restraints, they are protection. That creation's harmony depends on love aligned with obedience. The Watchers wanted to share in human experience, but in doing so, they broke the very balance they were sworn to preserve. They turned blessing into corruption, knowledge into idolatry, and love into lust. And yet, even in their downfall, the mercy of God shines. He sent Enoch not to condemn, but to testify, to show that the same light which judges also redeems. Even angels can fall, and heaven mourns them. The Book of Enoch reminds us that holiness is not weakness, it is strength under submission. For the moment creation rebels against its creator, beauty turns to chaos. Heaven runs on names, on laws, on love, and Enoch saw the blueprint. When Enoch's eyes were opened to the mysteries of heaven, he didn't just see angels and fire, he saw laws. He saw that creation itself was held together by divine order, every motion written in the hidden books of God. He called it the Book of the Courses of Heaven, a celestial record that contained the secrets of time, destiny, and the final fate of all souls. Enoch was shown not merely visions, but understanding. He was taught how everything that exists flows from the will of the Most High, recorded in living tablets that cannot fade. And within those heavenly pages lay the mystery of the souls of men, the fate of souls. Enoch was taken to the place of waiting, Sheol. But unlike the shadowy underworld imagined by many, what he saw was ordered, divided, purposeful. He describes 4 compartments, 4 chambers where the spirits of the dead await judgment. In one, the righteous rest in peace, guarded by angels until the day of light. In another, the wicked cry out in torment, knowing judgment awaits them. A third holds those who are neither fully pure nor entirely corrupt, the ones whose fate still trembles between mercy and justice. And the last, a dark chasm, where fallen spirits, the offspring of the Watchers and mankind, are bound forever. This was heaven's accounting system, every soul known, every life recorded, nothing lost. When Enoch asked, "Who decides their fate?" the angel replied, "The books of heaven decide. For every word, every deed is written." It was a truth too heavy for human minds, that even the unseen world runs on divine precision. The ascending prayers. Then Enoch was shown how the cries of the earth rise like incense. He saw rivers of light flowing upward from the world of men, streams of prayers, tears, and songs of faith. Each was gathered by angels who bore them before the throne. There the prayers became living words, woven into the judgments and mercies of God. Enoch understood. Heaven listens. Nothing spoken in faith is ever lost in the noise of the universe. Every whisper of sorrow, every cry for justice, every word of worship, it ascends, and it is written. This was the revelation that shattered him with awe. Heaven is not silent. It is responsive. Every act of love and every act of evil ripples through the cosmic order. The universe itself is moral. It reacts to righteousness, and it recoils from sin. The secret of names. But then came one of the greatest mysteries of all, the power of the divine name. The angel Uriel showed Enoch how everything in creation bears a name, and that name is a signature of its divine purpose. To know the true name of a thing is to understand its essence, the law by which it was made. This is why angels are called by names of light: Michael, who is like God; Gabriel, God is my strength; Raphael, God heals. Their names are not just labels, they are functions within creation. Enoch learned that even stars, winds, and rivers have names written in heaven. The names of power are not magical incantations. They are coordinates of divine intent. Each name, a note in God's eternal symphony. And then Enoch was told something terrifying, that to reveal these names without authority is to disrupt the harmony of heaven itself. This was knowledge meant only for angels, for those who stood before the throne. And yet Enoch, a man of dust, was being shown the keys of the cosmos. No wonder the elders feared his writings. He knew too much. Why it was hidden. The early teachers and scribes of Israel wrestled with this. They admired Enoch's purity, his wisdom, his closeness to God, but his revelations were too divine. They blurred the line between prophet and angel, between man and the eternal. In Enoch's words, heaven was not a distant cloud kingdom. It was an operating system of divine intellect and moral precision, a universe that thought, responded, and recorded. The early church fathers worried. If the faithful read these words without guidance, they might try to unlock what only God should hold. So the Book of Secrets was hidden, lost for centuries, buried with Ethiopian monks who alone preserved its pages in the highlands, whispering its truths beneath the stars. Enoch's burden. And yet Enoch's writings were never meant to glorify secret power. They were meant to teach reverence. He understood that heaven's laws are not chains, but harmonies. The courses of the stars, the balance of souls, the names of creation, all exist because of love. He writes, "Blessed is the man who understands the work of the heavens, for he shall know his place in the order of God." It is a reminder that the same God who governs galaxies also numbers every hair on your head. The laws that bind the stars are the same that guard your soul. So why did Enoch write these things down? Because he saw that mankind forgets. We look at the sky and see emptiness, but Enoch saw structure. We live as though unseen, but Enoch saw that every thought, every word is recorded in the books of heaven. Heaven is not far away. It is watching. It is alive. It is ordered. And when you pray, when you love, when you act with justice, you resonate with that same divine machinery Enoch once saw. Because heaven doesn't just rule above us. It breathes through us. They didn't burn it because it was false. They buried it because it was too true. There is a saying among scholars of the sacred, what disappears isn't always forgotten. It is protected. The Book of Enoch was one such mystery. It wasn't just lost to history. It was sealed, hidden in time, whispered about, quoted by saints, and then vanished. But why? Why would the early church, born in the fire of revelation, turn away from one of the most divine visions ever written? To answer that, we have to step into the mind of the first believers. The book that bridged heaven and earth. In the first century, the writings of Enoch were everywhere. The Jewish mystics revered it. The early Christians quoted it. The Apostle Jude even cites Enoch directly, writing, "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all." Jude 1:14-15. That verse, word for word from verse Enoch. And in Revelation, the thunders, the fiery throne, the angels with trumpets, it all echoes what Enoch described centuries earlier. John's vision on Patmos wasn't born in isolation. It resonated with Enoch's cosmic imagery, the same throne, the same judgment, the same war in heaven. For a time, the early church saw Enoch as essential background reading for understanding heaven's order and the coming of Christ. So what changed? The fear of the too divine. As Christianity spread, church leaders faced a problem. They were trying to protect the faith from heresy, from wild mystical speculation, and from Gnostic cults that mixed truth with strange cosmic myths. And then there was Enoch, this ancient text filled with angelic hierarchies, cosmic measurements, and heavenly secrets. It spoke of the Watchers, of their fall, of divine mysteries that blurred the line between heaven and earth. It was too divine, too detailed, too dangerous. How could the growing church, striving for clarity and order, control a text that opened heaven so vividly that anyone reading it might start thinking they too could ascend and see for themselves? One church father warned, "It is a book that burns with divine fire, but not all can bear its heat." So quietly, Enoch was moved aside. The councils and the canon. As the biblical canon was being decided, scroll by scroll, debate by debate, the question of Enoch was raised. At the councils of Laodicea, Carthage, and later Nicaea, the decision was clear. Enoch would not be part of the official Bible. It was declared apocryphal, meaning hidden, but not heretical, not false, just not for everyone. It's almost as if the church fathers looked at it and said, "This is true, but it is too much truth for the common believer." They feared that humanity might misuse it, that seekers of knowledge would chase the secrets instead of the Savior. And so, in their wisdom, or perhaps their fear, they sealed it away. The one church that kept it. Only one branch of Christianity defied the silence, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. High in the mountains of Africa, where empires rose and fell beyond their borders, they kept the Book of Enoch as part of their sacred canon. While the rest of the world forgot, Ethiopian monks recited its verses by candlelight. They saw no danger in it, only divine mystery. When European explorers rediscovered it in the 18th century, they were stunned. A text quoted by Jude and hinted at in Revelation, preserved for millennia in a language the West had all but forgotten. It was as if heaven itself had hidden Enoch among the clouds, waiting for the right generation to look up and find it again. Hidden or protected? And that raises the question, was the Book of Enoch suppressed or safeguarded? Maybe humanity wasn't ready to see heaven so clearly. Maybe it was never meant to be a manual for mortals, but a witness, a record that one day would remind us that the unseen world is real, structured, and watching. Enoch saw heaven not as an escape from earth, but as its blueprint. He revealed how angels move, how prayers rise, how souls are weighed, and that was knowledge meant to humble us, not empower us. So, the church hid it, or perhaps God himself did. Because sometimes the most divine truths are too bright for the age they're born into. Heaven begins when man walks with God again. In the end, Enoch's story isn't just about visions of fire and angels. It's about rediscovery of what heaven truly is. Because through his eyes, heaven wasn't some far-off paradise hidden beyond the stars. It was order. It was justice. It was love woven into the fabric of existence itself. When Enoch looked into the divine realms, he wasn't escaping the world. He was seeing its truest form. Every law of light, every ripple of sound, every heartbeat of creation pulsed with the rhythm of the Creator's will. Heaven is not up there. Heaven is everywhere God's order reigns. The living temple Enoch saw that the universe itself is a temple, alive, resonating with worship. The stars are its lamps, the angels its choirs, the laws of nature its hymns of obedience. Heaven isn't made of clouds and gold. It's made of alignment. Every being, every light, every law harmonizing with divine truth. And the angels? They were not distant, untouchable figures. They were reflections of purpose, manifestations of what happens when a being lives fully within God's will. Each flame, each wing, each voice in that celestial court existed for one reason: to glorify the source of all things. The journey of the soul, Enoch's ascent, wasn't a privilege, it was a prophecy. His journey from dust to glory mirrors the path of every soul that seeks God. He walked with God, and then one day he simply kept walking, past the boundaries of mortality, past fear, past time. That is the message of Enoch. Heaven is not a place we go to. It is a reality we awaken into. The forgotten vision. Maybe heaven was never hidden from us. Maybe we just forgot how to look. Every act of justice, every moment of mercy, every heartbeat of love, that is heaven manifesting on earth. And when mankind walks with God again, as Enoch did, the veil between heaven and earth will lift once more. Enoch walked with God, and maybe, just maybe, heaven still walks with us. By the time Enoch descended back to the world of men, he carried more than visions. He carried a message, a warning and a promise intertwined like threads in a divine tapestry. He knew the heavens in a way few mortals could ever imagine. He had seen the thrones of glory, the machinery of the cosmos, the names that govern creation, and the fate of every soul. And yet he returned to a world still struggling to understand its own place within that order. The promise. The first thread is the promise. Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones. Jude 1:14-15. Enoch saw it with his own eyes. He saw the angels poised to act, the righteous vindicated, the cosmos aligned with justice. The promise is not abstract. It is active. It is certain. God's plan is unfolding, and every act of obedience, every prayer, every faithful deed participates in it. Heaven is not a distant myth. It is an active, living reality that moves, watches, and responds. The promise is that order, justice, and mercy will ultimately prevail. That the divine machinery of the cosmos, so painstakingly detailed in Enoch's visions, runs not for spectacle, but for purpose. The warning. But there is also a warning, one that echoes through every age. The watchers fell because they forgot their place. They abandoned their purpose, drawn by desire and pride. They sought to possess what was never theirs to take, and to control what was never theirs to command, and in doing so, they were cast into darkness. Enoch understood. Knowledge without humility leads to ruin. Power without obedience leads to chaos. And the greatest danger is not ignorance, but forgetting that all truth, all authority, and all life itself flows from God. His warning is not only for angels, it is for humanity. Every choice, every act of defiance, every pursuit of wisdom without reverence carries consequences. Heaven is structured, precise, and just. To live outside of that order invites the same fall that corrupted the watchers, Enoch's transformation. And yet the story does not end in fear. Enoch himself was transformed. Later, Jewish and mystical texts describe him becoming Metatron, the scribe of heaven, the celestial intermediary who records the deeds of men, the movements of the stars, and the will of the Almighty. From mortal man to immortal witness, Enoch became a bridge between the divine and human, a testament to what happens when courage, faith, and obedience walk together. He shows us that the pursuit of divine truth is not to be feared, but sought. That one who dares to see heaven in all its glory can return to earth with wisdom that transforms the soul. Lessons for today. So what does Enoch's journey mean for us in this world of distractions and uncertainties? It means courage is essential. Courage to look beyond the mundane, to seek the truth even when it challenges comfort and convention. It means humility is indispensable, for even angels fell when they overstepped. We are not rulers of the cosmos. We are participants, entrusted with freedom but also responsibility. It means pursuit of divine truth is sacred. Knowledge is not a prize, it is a responsibility. Every act of learning, every spiritual quest is a step along the path that Enoch walked, a path toward understanding, alignment, and communion with the divine order. Enoch reminds us that heaven is not unreachable. It is not hidden behind clouds or locked in cryptic texts. It is alive, it moves, it observes, and it waits. It waits for those who walk with God, who honor the structure of creation, who pursue truth with reverence and courage. Closing reflection. The secrets of heaven were never meant to terrify. They were never meant to dominate or intimidate. They were meant to guide. Every throne, every angel, every luminous law Enoch witnessed carries a simple message. Live aligned with love, with justice, with order. Walk in awe, but walk boldly. Seek wisdom, but bow in humility. Pray, act, and live in harmony with the divine order, and the gates of heaven are open to you even now. Enoch walked with God, and maybe, just maybe, heaven still walks with us. Because the legacy of Enoch is not just a story of visions and angels. It is a living reminder that the cosmos is ordered, the soul is precious, and the divine is always near. Heaven begins not with distance or death, but with the choices we make, the courage we embrace, and the love we carry. And as Enoch teaches, the path to glory is not closed. It is a journey we can all take, one faithful step at a time. Walk with God, look with eyes of wonder, and perhaps, like Enoch, you too will see the heavens and carry their light back into the world.